Hello and welcome to the channel. As always, like the video, and if you enjoyed the story, leave a comment on if you would want more. This fan fiction was not created by me, but in the description there is a link to the fanfic so you can show your support to the creator and read along. Without any more delay, let's dive into the story.
Please, Tsunade. I beg of you, please train me in the art of medical ninjutsu. It wasn't that she was going to say no, it's just that she didn't expect this question to be coming from Naruto of all people. As she thought about it, he didn't have the same chakra control that his blonde counterpart had. He didn't have the prerequisite knowledge, but what he did have was an ravenous appetite to learn and one hell of a chakra supply. She was thinking just how many people he might be able to heal with that amount of a chakra supply. Alright, fine. A bit of guilt was thrown in as she knew she probably should have been doing more for Kushina's son. That, and she could empathize of seeing someone you love on the verge of death. If we're going to start training, then you're going to need to know every single detail about the human body. Tsunade mentioned, and within a moment, there were 50 clones in front of her, ready to listen to what she had to say. Once Ino was healed and ready to go, the group of ninjas headed back to Konoha, with the intent of Tsunade to become the Hokage. As the elder ninja went off on their own to do their own thing, Ino turned to Naruto. I'm going to go home to my family, but I promise I'll come round to your place tomorrow morning, if we don't have a mission. She mentioned, knowing that Naruto had no one to go home to. Half of her mind was to ask whether or not he would want to come over for dinner, but she would have to clear that first with her parents. Yeah, I get ya, all good. Naruto said with a bit of a forced smile on his face. As much as he wanted to spend time with Ino, he knew that she wanted to spend time with her family. It just sucks that I don't have one on my own. With everything that had happened over the past month, this was going to be the first time where Naruto had time to himself. He was dreading it actually. Time to himself meant time to ponder on thoughts that he had pushed to the recesses of his mind. Paramount to his thought at the time was regarding who sealed the QB inside of him. Why me? What did I do to deserve this? Why did you seal it into your own son? Is all I am to you a pawn in your game of power? His thoughts then drifted onto those who he thought would have been there for him. Kakashi only taught me the bare minimum. In 6 months I learned water walking, then I taught myself everything else. Sure, Jiraiya taught me sealing basics and helped me with one-handed seals, but they were things that the Snake Clan was going to teach me anyway. Look, it's the Demon Kid, now he even summons snakes now, just like Orochimaru. Naruto was broken out of his reverie when he heard the whispers coming from 2 civilians. Fuck off! Naruto shouted at them, surprising the duo who thought that he would not be able to hear him. Is anything I ever do good enough? I used those skills to stop the rampaging Ichibi. What's even the point anymore of trying to save these people? Nothing I ever do will be good enough. Naruto continued walking back to his rundown apartment, not wanting to be social at all. It's cool that the last Uchiha defeated the Sand Beast. That one threw Naruto for a loop. Walking over to the 2 girls who couldn't have been older than 18 and asked them to repeat it. Yeah, didn't you hear, the dreamy Uchiha kid managed to defeat the Sand Demon. She swooned in contentment at the thought of herself and Sasuke. What the hell? Anger started piling on top of Naruto. They think that he beat Gaara? No wonder everyone is calling me a snake demon. Fuck it all, Naruto whispered to himself before running back home, not wanting anyone to see the tears starting to form. There was no one there to stop the spiraling negative thoughts. Ever the restless sleeper, Naruto tossed and turned attempting to get to sleep, and it took a couple of hours. In the end he drifted off into sleep, at least he thought he would. Waking up, he found himself in a familiar sewer, one he knew all too well. What am I seeing him for this time? Naruto muttered to himself and headed down the beaten path to where the cage was. Before he could get anywhere though, he was met by someone and they looked awfully familiar. With the memories of what he had to come home to, that being Konoha and an empty home, Naruto wasn't in the mood for seeing anyone. Who are you? Naruto rather rudely questioned. As he said it, he got a better look at the person and saw that it was like looking in a mirror. I am you. The other side of you. Dark Naruto amended after he saw the slightly confused expression on the real Naruto's face. It dawned fairly quickly on Naruto that this was the mental representation of all his negative emotions. You're me. You're all the emotions I have harboring to the village. Yes, Yami said in satisfaction. At least Naruto had grown to the point of being able to recognize his emotions. For so long you have tried to avoid your emotions. You've tried to run away from the feelings of anger, rage, and betrayal. The villagers will never accept you, you know. It's okay to feel, Naruto. You have to accept all parts of yourself. Only then you can grow. He could hear the words of Ino in the back of his mind. You're right. I have been running from my emotions. I initially put on a mask of happiness as an escape from the pain of loneliness. When I got the offer from the Snake Clan, that was merely a welcome distraction, allowing me to focus on something else rather than how I felt. Yami was shocked. He felt his power weakening. Not like this. But the villagers. They will never love you. But you are correct, I need to accept that there is this darkness inside of me. I do have anger residing in me towards Konoha. What they have done to me is not right. They don't deserve me trying to gain their approval. With that final line, Yami started turning black and disappearing with a smile on his face. Before he left, he gave Naruto a big hug. A weight was lifted off of the shoulders of Naruto Uzumaki, finally confronting the negative thoughts he had about Konoha and realizing that they were valid. Naruto found himself on top of the roof of the hospital. He didn't know why he was bowing down to the demands of his teammate, but a part inside of him was glad to test himself against Sasuke. The fight was going well as far as Naruto was concerned. Sasuke is using his Sharingan and I can keep up the pace. And I'm not using clones. Sure, he was on the defense, but Naruto hadn't really put much effort into his taijutsu recently. As Naruto was getting more and more confident in the battle, Sasuke was getting more and more frustrated. He's catching up. To Sasuke, it showed just how far he had to go if he wanted to defeat Itachi, when Naruto had closed the gap. And he's not even using that red chakra I heard about. Upping the ante, Sasuke was the first one to escalate to elemental ninjutsu, jumping up in the air and released a fireball down at Naruto. Wind release, pressure damage. Naruto shouted as he jumped to the side, aiming the jutsu at the incoming fireball and launched it up in the air using the oxygen as a fuel source. Standing on top of the watering tower, Naruto watched as the grim reality of the situation occurred to him. There in front of him was Sasuke Uchiha, channeling chakra into his hand to form the familiar jutsu of Kakashi Hatake, the Chidori. That's how he wants to play it. I see how it is. Should I have expected anything different? Sasuke was always selfish. Pulling his sword out of the top of his sheath, Naruto channeled wind chakra into the blade. The two rushed towards each other. A blur came out of nowhere and grabbed the respective hands of Naruto and Sasuke, flinging them far apart from one another. You went a bit too far for just to fight you two. Seeing the two still reeling from being flung into the respective water towers, Sasuke's whole hand was in the metal whereas Naruto's was down to the hilt of his blade. Ignoring the question, Sasuke jumped down off the tower, leaving Naruto to deal with his sensei. Naruto, were you going to kill Sasuke? You need to be careful with wind chakra. It is very dangerous. Kakashi questioned before going into lecture mode. Still prickly about what had happened and this being the first time he had seen his team since the exams, Naruto was feeling a bit defensive. Don't you think that was a bit hypocritical, Kakashi, since you taught Sasuke an assassination jutsu designed to kill people? Shocked at the way Naruto was talking back to him, he got the impression that there was something else going on, removing himself from blame in the process. Naruto! Don't talk to our sensei like that. He taught that to Sasuke so he could protect himself. Against Gaara. Sakura jumped in to her crush's defense. Fuck off, Sakura. Well, what did he teach me to defend myself against Gaara? Naruto turned his attention back to Sakura, annoyed that she was jumping into the conversation when she had no relevance. Kakashi widened his eyes as he saw what the issue was. I guess now is as good of a time for him to learn the Rasengan. I can teach him that. Naruto, don't talk to Sakura like that. Sakura, I'm fine, I can handle it. I smiled, trying to defuse the situation. Naruto has really changed. The old him never would have spoken to Sakura like that. Why did I even bother coming up here? Team 7 was never really a team for me. This is bullshit. I'm over this. Don't expect me to be on this team for long. Naruto, frustrated, alluded to. Before anyone could speak, he used the body flicker to merely leave a trail of leaves behind him. Naruto! Sakura yelled out, not out of anger, but fear. Her world was crumbling. Sasuke was becoming more and more mean whilst Naruto screamed at her. Team 7 is supposed to be a team. Kakashi was the most horrified though. All I ever wanted was for Team 7 was to be a team. Sasuke and Naruto were supposed to be friends, not enemies. Maybe I wasn't fit to be sensei after all. Waking up first thing in the morning, Ino received an order for a summons to the Hokage Tower. As she got there, she saw her boyfriend trailing behind. Hey Naruto, I didn't think they normally get couples to go on missions. She hurriedly whispered, although she was excited to go on another mission together. I dunno, what if this is us finally getting our vests? Notably in reference to the Chunin exams that went past where they both put in good performances. One can only hope. I bet they'll say something like because the exams got cancelled, they aren't promoting anyone. Walking in the room, they saw Tsunade sitting at her desk. We got word that last night, Sasuke Uchiha left the village. Shock filled the faces of Naruto Uzumaki and Ino Yamanaka. This will be your first mission as Chunin. As Tsunade mentioned this, the blonde couple caught their respective scrolls. Naruto gave a smirk to Ino, who promptly ignored it. Now normally I wouldn't be sending you two together, but we are so undermanned it's not funny. Rally up 3 others and go as soon as possible. We believe he has gone to Orochimaru. Also, Ino, you are in charge on this mission. Dead or alive? Naruto questioned, wondering if he was going to have to fight differently. Surprised that Naruto would even ask that question, she responded. Alive. The two of them left the room shortly thereafter. You get Neji and Kiba, I'll get Shikamaru. After seeing the performance of Shikamaru during the finals, Naruto wasn't convinced but let it slide. If Ino trusts him, then I trust him. Got it. Meet back at the gates in half an hour. As the 5 ninjas waited at the front of the gate, making sure that they had their tools, Naruto saw out of the corner of his eye Sakura standing at the gate crying. Sighing, Naruto walked over to her. Please, you have to bring Sasuke back. She said with tears freely forming down her face, her head hung low. That's what we are assigned to the mission for. Naruto replied, distinctly not making any commitments in bringing Sasuke back. If he didn't, he was sure he was going to hear about it. As he was preparing to leave, Ino was the one who came over. Feelings of jealousy rose up in her, seeing Naruto hanging out with his crush from way back when. She didn't doubt that he liked her now, it was just that she didn't like the hold Sakura used to have, not when she didn't deserve it. Naruto, we better get going? She mentioned, not even looking at Sakura. They hadn't been friends for a long time and time hadn't been kind to them. She hasn't changed at all. Yep, coming Ino-chan. I remember when he was like that with me. Sakura wistfully said, for once missing Naruto now that Sasuke was gone. You should have seen what was right in front of you. Ignoring the jibe as she knew that there was something going on between the two blondes, Sakura looked at her former best friend. Promise me you'll bring Sasuke back. Ino for her part merely rolled her eyes and didn't bother answering the question, leaving Sakura there as she previously was. Alone. So Shika, what would be the plan you would use in this situation? Ino questioned. It wasn't her job to think of the best strategy, it was her job to use the resources available to her to complete the mission as best as she could. As they left the village in the direction which they had received a report on, Niji used his clan's eyes and found where they were located. The problem though was that Kadamaru had spider threads all throughout the forests, and when Shikamaru, unaware of his enemy's abilities, he triggered the warning for the sound before they could come up with a plan. There were multiple explosive notes tied to a kunai, and it was right beside Shikamaru's head. Baiting just like Shikamaru planned, they found themselves in a giant dome created by Jirobo. "Ah, you scum won't be getting out of this. My dome sucks the chakra out of you." Ever so confident. That was because he hadn't come up against Naruto Uzumaki. "Leave this one to me. Kiba, get ready to strike after my jutsu." Channeling a significant amount of chakra, Naruto released his strongest jutsu. Wind release, pressure damage. Sure, some of the chakra was drained, but the payout was worth it as Naruto released devastating gusts of wind that took out chunks of the dome. It also cut all of the other rocks where Naruto aimed it. Kiba was straight behind with his trademark jutsu and took down the remaining broken rocks, causing the dome to break. What they were left with was Jirobo by himself. Obviously trying to stall to get Sasuke and that barrel across to the Sound Village. Naruto thought to himself, "Go! We can't afford to lose ground and fail this mission." Ino called out, "Leave this girl with me and I'll come join you shortly." "But Ino, we shouldn't abandon our comrades." This wasn't about comrades though. Naruto had a conflict of interest on this mission. "Go!" she shouted, this time directly looking Naruto in the eyes. "I got this. Trust me," she said, channeling her clan jutsu. With a nod, Naruto turned back around and headed with the group to find Sasuke. As Naruto was the only other Chunin on the mission, by default mission leader. Giving a directive to the rest of his team, he couldn't help but look back with worry before heading off himself. "Your fight is with me, Tubby. I bet you don't even take your shirt off when you shower, do you?" Ino questioned, and she was greeted with her enemy allowing his cursed teal level 1 takeover. Cracking his knuckles with fury, Jirobo replied, "I was going to finish you off quickly to put you out of your misery. But now I am going to take my time, bitch." Is that supposed to an insult? Of course I am a bitch. And here I thought you would have thick skin. Guess not. Ino replied, wiping her nails on her top, not even giving her enemy the time of day. That was all it took for the first stage of the curse mark to come out on display. "Oh, so you're one of those. A real man would use his own strength. God, men are so easy. That's the same thing Sasuke has. I'll show you what a real man can do." Jirobo called out, sprinting as fast as he could. "Shit. I didn't think someone this big could move this fast." "Hair needle Senbon," she shouted, using her newest jutsu whilst jumping back with enhanced chakra speed to increase the distance. She watched in frustration as the Sunban for the most part bounced off of Jirobo as he continued to charge at her. Ino didn't like getting hit, in fact she hated it. Naruto's the tank, not me. Note to self, don't take hits, just dodge. Pulling out her sword, Ino ducked under the punch and lunged forward with her enhanced speed, going even faster than before. Ending up on the other side of Jirobo, Ino grinned in satisfaction when her blade dripped blood. She didn't need to look back and see the substantial cut from her enemy's hip to the middle of his back, and she was highly confident the Sound Ninja was unaware of the genjutsu seal her hand was in. "Ah!" Jirobo screamed, not at all pleased with how the fight was going. "I can't believe this bitch is forcing me to go to the second stage." Jumping back and putting distance between the two, Ino watched in horror as her enemy's face turned red and he got warts all over his body. That's disgusting." Jirobo came rushing out, this time with speed that surprised Ino. If she wanted to dodge his attacks, she would have to use her chakra speed to the max. Dodging to the left, Ino let out a retaliatory swipe with her blade against the exposed knuckles. "Ah," he screamed, only further serving to make him more angry. Trying that little bit harder, he shocked Ino with a burst of speed, getting inside her guard and punched her in the face, sending the Yamanaka hurtling towards the ground. She skidded across the ground dazed and confused, struggling to get her bearings. Jirobo came up and grabbed her by throat and held her high in the air. "Any last words, bitch?" "Yeah, good night, fatty." As she said this, her free hand went into a seal familiar to her clan and released the mind-body switch technique. There was no chance for Jirobo to dodge. Ino caught her own body immediately and gently rested on the ground before getting explosive tags out of her pouch. Taking her enemy's body 15 meters away, she laid down 5 explosive tags, aimed at each limb. The second she returned to her body, she triggered the explosive notes. It was not pretty. Blood went everywhere and for a couple of seconds, she heard Jirobo screaming in agony. It was either me or him, was what she told herself. She struggled to tell herself, walking up to the body, grimacing as she saw the remains. A couple of limbs were severed and organs were loosely hanging inside the body. It would be a memory seared into her brain forever. It was her first kill after all. I need to catch up to the others. So this is really how it's going to be, Sasuke? Naruto questioned without a judgmental tone. He could empathize easily. Too easily. The idea of wanting to leave the village that had caused him so much pain. "I'm done with all you fools from the Leaf Village. Go home." Sasuke responded, and as he turned around, Naruto saw the tattoo markings covering his face, also with eye changing complete color. This must be that cursed seal again. Grabbing his sword out of its sheath, Naruto wasn't willing to take any chances. Despite this, Sasuke managed to slip in the guard of Naruto and then punched him hard. Naruto started coughing up blood, barely managing to hold his sword before tumbling into the water. Not only does that cursed seal increase speed, it makes him stronger too. Taking stock of the situation, Naruto pulled himself back up to the surface of the lake and jumped straight back to capture Sasuke. Yet again, Sasuke was slightly too fast, although this time Naruto managed to graze the side of Sasuke's leg with his blade. Following up, Sasuke quickly threw his shuriken tied to ninja wire, attempting to trap Naruto being the rock he was currently falling towards. Pulling it tight, Naruto found himself trapped against the rock, facing an incoming ball of fire. He's really going for it. Those punches are his full strength. Naruto thought to himself, feeling the pain done to his ribs. Using wind chakra, Naruto cut the wires and fired off a gust of wind, pushing the fireball back in the path of Sasuke. Wind release, fist of the wind snake. A condensed, pressurized face of a snake came hurtling through the air at Sasuke, having never seen anything before like it. Using it to his advantage, Naruto latched onto his opportunity, smashing his foot into Sasuke's stomach, causing him to fold over. Naruto brought both hands to the blade, slamming the bottom of his sword to the back of Sasuke's head, clobbering him in the process and sending him rocketing towards the water. This is the power of the cursed seal. It's a bit disappointing, if I must say. Naruto called out, jumping down on top of the water as Sasuke pulled himself up. "I'll show you, power loser. Now show me that red chakra," Sasuke shouted, channeling a Chidori. Holding his sword with both hands, Naruto channeled an obscene amount of wind chakra through the blade, seeing it come off of weapon with ease. Let's the type affinity works in my favor. They each charged in, holding their own jutsu, confident that it was going to win. The ball of electricity and sword collided. Come on. They both thought until a cracking noise sounded. Naruto's sword chipped down the middle with the blade fracturing into multiple pieces. Sasuke got a clean 4 cm shard of metal jabbed right into his arm. Naruto, meanwhile, he got a jagged cut all along his forearm. The sizzling sounds as the metal, still charged with electricity, cut through the skin caused both boys to grimace in pain. Naruto was the first to give up, quickly substituting himself with a nearby rock. "Shit, I can't keep up with an attack. Fucking hell, Kakashi," teaching that to Sasuke, and he ends up using it on his supposed teammate. "See? This is my power. There's no way you can keep up, loser," Sasuke boasted, loving the fact that the separation that used to be between them was being showcased once more. Looking down at the broken sword in his hand, Naruto grimaced. Not for the fight he was still in, but for asking Manda for another sword. That's not going to be fun. Guess we're going old school again then. A familiar red chakra was coming to the surface, enough to change his eye color but not enough to start a shroud around his body. Wind release, pressure damage. Naruto boldly called out, bringing his hands in front of him. With a healthy addition of the Kyuubi's chakra, Naruto unleashed the devastating wind right at Sasuke, who had no chance of dodging. Cuts started littering all over his body, shredding his shirt to pieces. There's no way I could have dodged that. How does the dobe have this much power? Sasuke screamed internally, looking at the choppy waters below and even seeing some cuts in the statues behind him thanks to his Sharingan. This better be worth it. At this point one would question whether or not Sasuke was doing this to kill Itachi and rather the pride in not losing to Naruto. Tapping into the cursed seal for more chakra, the markings quickly covered his body, consuming every part of his skin, and Naruto could only watch on in horror. This is what the cursed seal does. This is what it does to your body. Sasuke, what have you become? You see, I'm the most special. Sasuke shouted, and before Naruto could react, Sasuke was on him. A massive right hook that the Uzumaki could do little about, followed by a powerful kneecap right into the stomach, left the blonde wheezing. Before Naruto could even recover, Sasuke had launched the two of them into the air and placed his former teammate in a piledriver position, slamming him head first into the ground below. A distinct crack was heard as Naruto's head collided with the ground. There was enough force, causing some of the rocks nearby to go flying. Not to be outdone, Sasuke then picked up Naruto by the throat with one hand. With the other free hand, he made a seal-less Chidori, channeled it, and then shoved into Naruto's right lung with no remorse whatsoever. This needs to be done. This needs to be done. Sasuke was telling himself as he unceremoniously dropped Naruto's body in the water, staring at where it once was. That was until he heard the bubbling. You stupid, weak human. How dare you get defeated by an Uchiha of all people? The Kyuubi roared inside of its cage, flooding Naruto with chakra yet again to solve his problems. The bubbles started becoming more and more frequent, and soon Naruto came to the surface, this time with a full chakra shroud surrounding him. 2 tails and all. What the hell is this? What do I have to do to kill this bastard? Sasuke thought to himself, and for the first time since that fateful night, he felt fear. He just keeps getting back up. This ends now, Sasuke. Whilst Naruto may have wanted to sound calm and in control, there was a distinct feral element to it. Wind release, feral wind claw jutsu, Naruto called out, and as he swiped the air, 5 distinct red and white blades of wind came from his hand, hurtling towards Sasuke. They were each a meter long, and Sasuke barely managed to dodge them, only getting caught on the tail end of one, severing his thigh significantly, blood spurting out instantaneously. Reaching forward with his chakra cloak, Naruto's paws grabbed a hold of Sasuke, and then by twisting his body, the momentum carried to Sasuke, who was much further out. Slam! Sasuke careened head first into the cliff face of the Valley of the End. Watching on, Naruto noticed how the chakra markings over the body of Sasuke receded, first to what looked like to a tattoo and then to nothing at all. Panting and hunched over one leg, Naruto coughed up blood. I can't keep using that. It's going to kill me someday. Naruto! A voice screamed. One that he had never been more excited to hear. Turning around, there was Ino rushing as fast as she could, sweat down her brow and everything. Seeing her, immediately made the adrenaline wear off, knowing that he had done his job and he could relax now. Got him. Sasuke's over there. He briefly mentioned before passing out in the water. As she helped carry Naruto back with Sasuke getting carried by Kakashi, she couldn't help but notice just how weak Naruto felt. Is this from the fight with Sasuke, or is this him using the Kyuubi's chakra again? She saw the hole in his shirt, fist size, she noted. I really hope it wasn't that jutsu that Kakashi taught him to kill Gaara. Looking at it though, she didn't get that same confidence. Ugh. Naruto started to murmur, his body hurt, but as much as the physical wounds hurt, the memories of the day before started coming back to him. How he fought Sasuke, having to try and rescue him. That's how they're going to spin it for the PR, I'm sure. If Sasuke was willing to leave the village when they treated him so well, then why shouldn't I? At this point, memories of his time during the academy, seeing the way villagers and all the girls talked to him, how Kakashi taught him the Chidori whilst he taught the rest of the team nothing. In contrast to that, Naruto's mind was littered with the memories of his time growing up. All those times sitting on the swing alone, looking over to the groups of kids, talking and laughing with their parents. The times where he wanted to play with all of the other kids, but for some reason their parents said he couldn't. Shoji didn't interact with him because Shikamaru didn't, and Shikamaru didn't because he was over the top and annoying. How all it took for him to develop a crush on Sakura was her being nice to him a couple of times, same with Sasuke being his rival. Naruto got acknowledged by Sasuke and then became his major rival. Looking back with more knowledge, he could tell that there were times that he asked for help in the academy and none of the teachers helped him. Of course, he struggled with the content when he struggled to read and write as a 6-year-old. The fact that he had to spend the first 4 months of being a genin, going back and doing all of the rudimentary training that he should have done in the academy, was not lost on the blonde. All those times where he had to fake a smile, pretending that he was okay with everything that was happening around him, that he was fine with everyone laughing at him, since that was the only way he could get any form of attention. That wasn't even including the fact that he was supposed to receive guidance from so many people, yet everyone had failed him. Irika did the bare minimum as a school teacher. Kakashi did the absolute least required as a Jonin sensei, irrespective of the fact that Naruto was his sensei's son. Someone who had done so much for Kakashi and showed Kakashi a good model for how to be a sensei, yet the man did not follow that due to his own depression that he had not worked on over the years. Then there was Hiruzen fucking Sarutobi. The wise old Hokage had put in the least amount of effort to give Naruto motivation to become the Hokage, tying him to the village. Tears started to form in Naruto's eyes as he started thinking about everything he had been through. And then there is my parents. It feels like they have written the first 10 chapters of a book about my life and I only get to change the ones after. I just hate how I have no control over my own life. Every time I have thought I am getting control, it's like there is a little asterisk on each moment. And then, a thought occurred that would change the elemental nations forever. The only way I am ever going to get complete control and freedom in my life is if I leave the village. As he thought about it, the idea sounded better and better. Time to train, time to go and explore causes that he valued in helping people, a constant life of adventure, none of the bullshit that Konoha called the will of fire, which he was an outcast to. There was only one problem to all of this though. It was a huge problem though. That problem was his girlfriend Ino. From what Naruto Uzumaki knew about love, he was fairly confident he loved her. She was the one that started getting him to value himself more, she was the one that put in the effort to find out who his parents were when he had given up hope. She called him out on his shit when no one else did, instead just letting Naruto develop bad habits. I want her to join me. How can I get her to come with me? Ino was the first person to walk into the room. She saw her boyfriend in the room, half lying, half seated in the bed staring up at the ceiling. I wonder what's on his mind. What's on your mind? Ino questioned, coming over and sitting next to him, grabbing his hand in her own. Hey Ino-chan? How is it going? Naruto questioned, ignoring her comment for a bit. Yeah, it's pretty good. Just got back from seeing Neji. Out of everyone on the mission, he was the only one that got severely hurt outside of yourself. Neji got hurt? Hopefully it's not too bad. She was here before? Naruto thought to himself, happy that she cared that much. In reality, Naruto didn't know it was expected of a partner when the other was in the hospital. What are you thinking? I was just thinking about our last mission. I'm really glad to see that you finished your fight relatively easy. You've gotten real strong, Ino-chan. The Uzumaki blonde commented with pride. Blushing, Ino smiled. You too, I saw the amount of damage that was done at the valley. To do that all whilst knowing you can't kill Sasuke, you've gotten stronger too, Naruto. Speaking of Sasuke, what are your thoughts on him attempting to leave the village? Naruto questioned. She had to think on it for a moment. I don't really know much about it. Forehead told me that she reckons that Sasuke's mind was being controlled/influenced by Orochimaru, but I don't know, it seems like Sasuke wanted to go there. What did he tell you during the fight? Did you two speak? Well, he was talking about how he needed power to kill his older brother Itachi. He was saying that Orochimaru was going to give him the power he required. He was saying that Konoha was holding him back. Thinking about it, we had 4 months of doing nothing but D-rank missions, and then after that, Sasuke saw people like Gaara and then felt bad about himself. Naruto thought, thinking about everything he used to know about Sasuke. He and his brother met recently, didn't they? Sasuke had a genjutsu used on him, didn't he? Naruto thought, knowing that it must have affected Sasuke seriously. I kind of get it though. Naruto murmured under his breath, empathizing with all of the emotions that Sasuke was feeling throughout, although for completely different reasons. Ino couldn't help but look at him oddly. She could see the facial expressions of her boyfriend and could tell that was more on his mind than what he was telling. Maybe he doesn't want to talk about it with me? Nah, maybe he doesn't want to talk about it here? Before she could delve any further, the door opened and there was an opening of the door and in walked Tsunade. Brats. She made a motion to Ino and then Naruto to introduce herself. They both nodded. How are you feeling? She questioned, looking at Naruto, who was bandaged from neck to toe. Pretty rough, Tsunade-sama. What's going to happen to Sasuke? You don't need to worry about that right now. Instead, focus on healing up and then when you're ready you can be discharged. Please tell me, I want to know. Tsunade sighed. She really didn't want to get into it with Naruto, and technically, she had no obligation to do so, but she also knew how Naruto would feel if he knew the real answer. To the outside world, Sasuke went on an undercover mission to find out more information about the Sound Village in Orochimaru. The village is in such a precarious position after the invasion that the last thing we need is to have a public relations incident with the last member of one of our founding clans deserting the village for our most hated rogue shinobi. Tsunade bluntly stated. They were Chunin in front of her and they deserved to not have information sugar-coated to them. What? Ino was the first to react, immediately turning her attention to the veteran leader. But that's bullshit. Everyone that took part in that mission knows that Sasuke joined them on his own free will. I get that. Trust me, I do. However, the last thing that Konoha needs is for this to turn into an international incident. As of this moment, only a select few shinobi in Kunoichi know about this. Do I make myself clear? Naruto opened his mouth to protest but in the end chose not to speak. On another day he would have, but not after having woken up just after having the fight of his life. This wouldn't have happened if it was me leaving the village. I would come back to everyone knowing and being locked up in jail. Naruto said, looking down at his clenched fists. Tsunade allowed the two teens to feel the injustice in moment. She knew she would be pissed too. Inwardly though, Sasuke is going to be punished by being locked up in jail for at least 3 months, having his chakra sealed, and then we will consider him being reintroduced into the core, depending on how his evaluations go. That relaxed the shoulders of Ino slightly. At least he isn't getting off for free. Neji nearly died in Naruto. They still hadn't had a full debriefing of the fight between Naruto and Sasuke, but she could only imagine from some of the holes in Naruto's clothes that there was some serious injuries. Finding himself at home, Naruto noticed that Sakura never came to the hospital to visit him. She no doubt spent time making sure Sasuke was fine. Which, to be fair, he did need assistance, just that Sakura was not the one required. When Naruto used his tailed beast form and grabbed Sasuke, he slammed his face into the cliff and shattered his nose in the process. Sasuke was going to be breathing out of a tube for a little while until they reconstructed his face. Neither did Kakashi show up. Admittedly, he was running mission after mission to help the village, but it still nonetheless hurt for Naruto that the only people that visited him in the hospital were Kiba and Neji, those who were on the mission alongside him. It just goes to show how close I was to everyone from the academy. It's another sign why I should leave the village. No one would give a shit. Except Ino. That was the conundrum for Naruto. How could he get her to be willing to leave the village, to leave her family, her friends and comrades just for him? Whilst he knew that she liked him, did she like him enough to become a war criminal in the eyes of their own village? He doubted it. Plus, if I was to ever leave the village, I need to be stronger. That fight with Sasuke showed that I rely too much on the Kyuubi's chakra when shit gets serious. I need to speak to Manda and Shikudo again, Naruto thought to himself. Going through the seals, he channeled chakra and reverse summoned himself from the village. Being back in a familiar place, after saying hello and greeting everyone, Naruto soon found himself staring up at a waterfall. How am I going to cut this? He questioned to his army of 500 clones. Let's find out, he thought to himself with a snake-like smirk. Having finished his training with his element for the day, starting at 4 hours ago, Naruto headed back down the mountain, finding Shikudo. Hi there, Shikudo. I've been thinking. Can I learn more of the snake-specific techniques? Of course you can. Which area would you like focus on now? She questioned, turning her head back to Naruto. I would like to focus on healing and poison. There are so many applications I can use with it. Plus, I found in my last fight, I don't really have a good way to subdue someone. Having the ability to poison someone and then heal them when I arrive at my destination will be invaluable. Nodding in approval, Shikudo started slithering away, motioning for Naruto to come with her. Wondering where they were going, Naruto watched as they entered a tunnel, ending up at an underground library that was truly massive. Shelves upon shelves going 3 stories high, full of various forms of text. From parchment to paper and everything between. This is one part of the inner sanctum that makes up the Snake Clan. We guard this location to the death. Naruto was busy looking around the room with awe but couldn't help but agree. The amount of knowledge this place must have. Down there to your right is everything regarding fertility, rebirth, medicine, and poison. Here is a list of books that you need to read before can start the training. As she said this, Shikudo gave Naruto a piece of paper and numbered it. How much is there to learn in here? Naruto questioned, still in awe of the place. As much as you want. We have everything from information on clans, high-level ninjutsu and genjutsu, politics, financial management, history, and the mythology of the elemental world and how it came to be. Ever since he started bothering about learning, Naruto couldn't get enough information. He had so many questions when he was younger and books were starting to give him the answers. Manda-sama, I have a couple of topics that I would like to discuss with you. Naruto said, bowing as he entered the Ryuchi cave. A sacred place amongst even the snakes. Speak, hatchling. Manda's voice beckoned him forward. Guess I am still a child in his eyes, even after we fought Shikaku together. I know you have mentioned that me having the desire to become a worthy summoner of the clan was because I wanted to become the Hokage. However, as time has gone on, I have been becoming more and more disillusioned with becoming the Hokage for a village that has caused so much pain in my life. Naruto started offering information for free, nervous about the outcome of this conversation. The last thing he wanted was for them to renounce his membership to the clan. What do you mean, child? So then Naruto went on and told his version of the information that he had found out. Letting them know about who his parents were and how everyone had made his life a living hell through either apathy or doing the bare minimum of what is required for a child to survive rather than thrive. Finishing up, Naruto spoke. I am also struggling with my identity to be a Konoha ninja. I have no desire to continue being a Konoha ninja after everything I have been through. Naruto knew just how critical reputation was to the Snake Clan, having had it drilled into him right from the very start how important it was. I see. Was all Manda stated, looking over the blonde ninja in front of him. And if you left the village, what would you do? Now this wasn't something that Naruto had really thought of. What would I do? Sure, I want to go and explore the world, but would I be okay just wandering around without a purpose? It didn't take Naruto long at all to answer that with a resounding no. There was no way he would be happy just doing nothing. I need to find problems to solve. I want to help the world become a better place, where children don't have to experience a childhood at all similar to what I did. With the Akatsuki after me, and I would also have Konoha after me, I am going to have to train my absolute best. I want to go and help the world. I want to put a stop to Orochimaru. Naruto mentioned out loud, remembering there was a place where he knew would appreciate his efforts. Hearing the plan for the future, Manda was satisfied. Very well then, Naruto. Shall you leave the village? The Snake Clan will support you through everything. You have brought pride to our clan, fighting the Ichibi that we will watch where you go. Yada! Naruto jumped up in joy, beyond delighted with what he had just heard. That's the best data Bayo. I can't keep doing this. When Ino Yamanaka decided to come over to her best friend and boyfriend's house, those were not the words she expected to hear. Panicking, adrenaline racing, and her heart basically beating out of her chest, the platinum blonde was almost on the verge of crying. What do you mean, Naruto? I thought we were going so well. I loved spending time with you, didn't you like it as well? Ino questioned after Naruto asked her to sit down. What? Naruto questioned, thrown. What do you mean? I don't want to break up with you. That's not what I was talking about. Naruto immediately started backtracking, seeing the expression on the face of his girlfriend. Then what do you mean? Ino demanded, flipping on a dime, going from hyperventilating and on the verge of emotional breakdown, to being utterly furious at her partner. I can't keep living this facade that I am happy as a Konoha ninja. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve to be treated like an outcast that everyone hates. And then the fury changed to empathy and understanding. She could feel the emotions of her boyfriend just by holding his hand and could feel his stress. She saw it during his time at the hospital that there was more on his mind. I'm not going to ask why, because I get it. I just want to know, why have these feelings been brought to the surface now? Ino questioned with a pleading look in her eyes, wanting to help however she could. Well, it all started during the Chunin exams when we started hanging out. You believed in me and you were the first person our age to tell me that you did. Back then I had such low standards for the people I was willing to accept in my life. I developed an obsession on Sakura because she was nice to me a couple of times. I thought of Sasuke as my rival because we had similarly shit childhoods. I viewed Irika as my older brother role model when all he did was treat me like a student, and he even used to view me as the demon. I viewed Kakashi as a great sensei when all he taught us during 6 months was the tree walking, to then go on and teach Sasuke a jutsu which he shoved into my chest. It was thanks to you I started valuing myself and not just saying yes to the first sign of affection and attention I received. Whilst Ino was realizing the ramifications of what she had done, she didn't regret it for a second. Naruto deserved to know who was a real one and who was just there. Self-worth is so important, and learning how to set boundaries for how people treat you is even more important. And then, when I was in the hospital, I had a thought to myself and questioned how many people actually gave a shit that I was there. Like enough of a crap that they would come visit me? Naruto questioned sardonically, looking over at his girlfriend whose eyes widened, feeling like she knew the answer but didn't want to hear it. Outside of Tsunade-sama and Shizune, you were the only person who came and visited me. I was in hospital for a week and no one fucking came. Naruto shouted. Please baby, you don't have to go through this alone. I am here with you. Ino willed in her thoughts, unknowingly channeling chakra to the person she had the best connection with. Surprised, Naruto heard it and blushed, not used to pet names. I just don't see the point of defending this fucking village. Why should I put in effort, blood, sweat and countless tears for this village when it's the same village that would chew me up and spit me out at the first thought? I don't want to be seen as a weapon or a demon. I just want to be seen as me. Naruto Uzumaki. He impassionately stated, clenching his fists as a couple of tears came down his face. She agreed with him. That was what made it so hard. There are people that will care though. I'll go home tonight and then ask Daddy to set up a family dinner, to properly introduce you to the family. That my family can become our family. Now normally. She would have waited a lot longer to introduce Naruto to the family, but she could see the pain he was going through. And to be honest, she felt that if this was something that might keep Naruto tied to the village, then she was for it. Was it selfish for her to want him to stay? Yes. Did she care? No. Naruto shook his head. No, it's too late. It's too late for everything. I am trusting you with this conversation as well, Ino-chan. Please don't betray my trust by going to the Hokage or anyone else. Fuck. Now I can't go to Dad and ask for help. Of course, Naruto-kun. All secrets between us stay between us. One thing I want to know though, is how come you haven't asked for me to come with you? She demanded, hands on her hips and tears forming at her eyes. Do you not care enough about us that you don't want me to come with you? No. Naruto shouted, grabbing a mug in the room and throwing it at a nearby brick wall, surprising Ino Yamanaka. It's the fucking opposite of that. I care so much about you, that the only reason why I am considering staying is because of you. The only person keeping me in this god-forsaken village is you. You are my sunshine. The past week in the hospital I had to think about a lot of things. I even had to confront my inner darkness a little while ago, and I realized that I had been repressing all of my dark thoughts and that was causing me to be depressed. Ino could only nod. She knew what he was going through and she knew the part that she had to play in this, forcing him to confront his issues. She didn't regret it one bit, even if it meant that she was going to end up alone. If it was for the people she cared about, then she would do anything and everything in her power. When you say dark thoughts, do you mean suicide? Please, not that, anything but that. I can handle anything, including you hating me for the rest of your life, but you can't be gone. Relief washed over Ino's body when Naruto spoke. No, that was when I was removed from the orphanage. I didn't really know what the depths of what I was thinking, all I knew was that I didn't want to wake up the next morning. I didn't have anything to look forward to for a couple of years there. The blasé way of speaking horrified Ino. The fact that Naruto could be this aware of those emotions and not show any distress showed he was used to this. A 6-year-old wanting to die because they had nothing to look forward to in life? I hate this fucking village. No, instead of being depressed, I came to realize that I have a lot of anger repressed inside of me that if I'm not careful, could consume me, and having the Kyuubi makes it that much more dangerous. What do you mean by that? Ino questioned. Are you wanting to make Konoha pay for everything they did to you? She asked, hoping it wasn't that. Not that they wouldn't deserve it. It would just end in so many deaths. No, Naruto mentioned, pacing around the room. I need time away from the village. If I stay here, I am going to get more and more aggressive as time goes on. I need time to go away and work through my own emotions. I am so happy he's come this far with his emotions. I still don't get why you haven't asked for me to come. She's mentioned this a couple of times. It's like she wants me to ask her. Would you come with me? Of fucking course he wanted her there. There was no doubt about it. The problem though was that he knew it was selfish. I don't know. It's such a hard decision. I would be giving up my family, I would be labeling myself a missing nin. My parents would be so disappointed in me. I know it's something you can't relate to, but there's this inbuilt desire to want to please your parents, and I would hate that. Plus I am the clan heir. You have no idea what sort of shame that would bring to the family. I know. Naruto cut her off in frustration. I have thought of all these things as well. That's why I can't ask you to come with me. Plus, I would be putting a target on your back as well. I don't want you to get hurt because of me. TCH Ino scoffed. That is the least of your concerns. Plus, if you ever got with another woman out there and I found out, which I would, then I would scour the ends of the earth to find you, and force you to watch other men, making me happier than I have been spending time with you now. You're a fucking bitch. You're a fucking bitch. Flicking her ponytail over her head, Ino showed how much she cared. So what? Let's not think about this for now. We don't have to make a decision for a while yet. Come here and kiss me. Waking up the next morning, Ino struggled to open her eyes. She had had the best sleep of her life. Wrapped up in the arms of her boyfriend as if he was coiled around her, she was so warm. Naruto was still slightly shorter than her, but she didn't care one bit. She knew that he was going to grow and tower over her. I don't ever want this to end. Getting up, as much as she didn't want to, Ino slipped out of the embrace of Naruto, grabbing her regular clothes to put on instead of the pajamas she was wearing. The blonde made her way quietly out of the house, going to get breakfast. She came back to Naruto coming back out of the shower, towel wrapped around his waist with nothing else on apart from a mischievous smirk on his face. Put some clothes on, I brought breakfast. Why should I? It's my house, he cheekily replied. Because you're not ready for my daddy to come and destroy mine, making you only speak one-syllable words for the rest of your life. The food had been placed on the table and the arms had been folded across her body expectantly. One day I'll be your daddy. Naruto called out as he walked back into his room, dropping the towel, right at the very end of the hallway, letting Ino catch a glimpse of his bare ass. He didn't see the blushing lady left behind as the insinuation was not lost. Oh no, he didn't. No one outflirts Ino Yamanaka. Just shut the hell up and eat the food I got you. She replied back. Unaware, Naruto was on the other side of the wall, a tear escaping his eyes before he quickly rubbed it away. It was the first time someone had brought him breakfast. It made the conviction of leaving the village that much harder. Did you know? Ino Yamanaka questioned, coming home and staring at her dad, waiting for an answer. Did I know what? Inoichi replied back, curious as to what his daughter was referencing. He was expecting as a teenager, she was bound to test the boundaries. The question was on what? Did you know that Naruto housed the Kyuubi? Outside of the brief raising of the eyebrows, Inoichi showed no other sign that he was surprised by this conversation. I knew that would come up sometime. There was no point lying. She knew he knew about the Kyuubi. That wasn't the real question she was asking. I did. Then why didn't you do anything to help him? Immediately, she showed her hand and how she was annoyed at the situation presented to her. It wasn't our place due to clan and village politics. If we were seen as helping out the Kyuubi host, then it would be seen as an attempt to get power to our clan. For the few years after the sealing, there was high tension in the village and the clans were heavily on edge. Confronted by the fact that her father wasn't using Naruto's name and instead calling him by what he housed. He has a name, you know. That just sounds like a cop-out to justify turning a blind eye. Ino passionately cried out, affected by the lack of reaction to her boyfriend. Inoichi moved his hand to his chin, deep in thought. Looking back on it, it probably was. We had just had a child and I was working dual jobs as head of the torture and interrogation as well as head of the Yamanaka clan. It wasn't the highest priority for our family at the time. I'm not excusing our actions but giving context behind them. Ino was at a loss for words. She opened her mouth a couple of times before closing it. That's what every clan did then. If it wasn't for indifference, Naruto suffered systemic emotional abuse as a sort of fucking scapegoat for everyone's emotional pain. Why did a 5-year-old have to become the emotional stress ball for the village? Did you know what that did to him? Ino questioned with tears nearly on the verge of coming out. She really cares for him. I wonder if they are dating. I need to invite him over to meet the boy. I had heard his exploits now being a snake summoner. Konoha has created a 5-year-old. 5-year-old, she screamed for emphasis. That has so deeply rooted depression, that he didn't know how else to describe it, but he didn't want to wake up again. Alarm bells started ringing in the head of Inoichi. To have the Kyuubi Jinchuriki being depressed and wanting to die from the age of 5, then who knew just how much damage had been done to his psyche? He was always so happy. Inoichi thought to himself before using his knowledge on the brain and emotions and realized instantaneously that it was a mask. How is he? Naruto? She could see the calculations being made in his head. It's not as if he is going to rip off the seal, although I can see why he would do it. Shocked at the candid nature his daughter was using, Inoichi responded. It wasn't that bad. Naruto was close with the Hokage, he had that teacher he was around all the time, and there was that ramen stand he spent his spare time at. Not that bad. You have absolutely no idea how bad it's been. Naruto was systematically isolated and mistreated by people hurling abuse at a child. Parents were telling their kids to not associate with him, and others were letting their children follow the crowd. There was a pointed look at her father. From what Naruto said, and I believe him a hell of a lot more than I believe anyone else in the village, the vibe I get is that everyone put in the bare minimum amount of effort. The Hokage saw him once every 6 months, if that. Plus, Irika was our teacher. All he really did was force Naruto to go to detention because of the pranks he did. Naruto was so starved for attention, he thought a girl that physically and verbally abused him on a daily basis was the love of his life. Just how fucked up is that? What if that was me in that position and I had a boyfriend who was like that? Ino questioned to make her father realize how bad it was for Naruto. To stop seeing him as the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Kakashi taught him the bare minimum, and the closest thing that Naruto considered a friend just made a palm-sized hole in his ribcage and lungs. It's just so fucked how everyone treated him. Ino screamed, pacing around the house. Inoichi paused for a moment, letting his daughter finish speaking. Do you love him? You previously liked Sasuke a lot. Is this your desire to fix boys who you think are damaged? Inoichi referenced Sasuke and his traumatic past. Shock filled her face. No, maybe. Sasuke was just a crush. Naruto is so much more than that. I don't love him yet, but I think I am falling for him. He is my boyfriend. This time it was Inoichi who was surprised. You have a boyfriend? Since when? Since I went on that mission with Tsunade-sama and Jiraiya-sama. Naruto and I have been spending more and more time together. I think you should be careful, Ino. Take it slow. Highly offended, Ino wanted to know why her father felt that way. What do you mean take it slow? We haven't done anything. Is it because he houses the Kyuubi? Are you judging him for something that he has no control over? I thought you were better than that? It broke the Yamanaka clan head to see his daughter look at him with those disappointed eyes. No, it is not because of that. I admit, that makes me uneasy, but it is because of him being a member of the Snake Clan. You were never around to see witness to the cruelty and power that man was capable of. You should know better of me than to judge someone for things that they have no control over. Well, did you ever think that Naruto was so desperate for a family, a place to call home, when he felt so alone and like an outcast in the place that is supposed to promote the will of fire? They approached him as they want to provide him a family, and the only condition that he must kill Orochimaru. As they were having the conversation, Ino couldn't help but realize her dad was stuck in the past and was conservative. Inoichi didn't realize that being not exactly supportive would just push his daughter further and further into Naruto's arms. Naruto was sitting at home in his room after yet another exhausting training session when there was a knock on the door. Opening the door, he saw his girlfriend and he saw the tears coming down her face. Can I stay tonight again? Anger fueled his body. Whoever caused this, I'll make them pay. Feeling how tense Naruto was, Ino spoke up. Don't worry about it. Promise? He looked down at her unsure for a few moments before nodding. Closing the door behind him, Naruto just wanted to hold her tight. So I'm going to make you my apprentice. You'll have to come with me out of the village for 3 years. Jiraiya boldly stated in front of Naruto. And do I get a say in this? Naruto replied, not at all impressed with what had just been said. What? Anyone would be honored to be my apprentice. With the Akatsuki coming, there is no better person to get you whipped up into shape so that you can take them on. I can teach you the famous techniques of the Yondaime Hokage. No. The Toad Sannin didn't expect Naruto to be so succinct in his rejection. What? Why not? Well, what benefit is there to going out and training with you? I could train with people such as Kakashi, and I am not spending 3 years away from Ino. Offended at the thought that training with Kakashi was at the same level as he was, Jiraiya replied. He wanted to develop a connection with his godson, and yet the boy was making it so much harder. Naruto, this would be best for you. The Akatsuki are coming and they aren't going to stop. We have 3 years to get you ready. Naruto's blood was boiling. Yet another time where people are making decisions about me, with me being the last to find out. It triggered all those feelings that he had when he was younger, only to find out information last, realizing why everyone treated him the way he did. What gives you the right to decide what's best for me? Anger came to the surface as the blonde stared down the two veteran ninjas. Titles be damned. Why don't I ever get a say in what's best for me? Jiraiya looked surprised at the outburst but not guilty. Why the hell should I just uproot my life and trust a fucking random person that entered my life only 3 months ago and join them, leaving what little support system I have, just because I should trust that they have my best interests at heart? Naruto angrily stared down at the man that wanted to be his sensei. I'm not just some random. I am Jiraiya of the Sannin. My pedigree speaks for itself. I taught the Yondaime, for crying out loud. There is no one better to train you to become a strong shinobi. By the time you'd come back, you would be ready to be a jonin. I am going to be a jonin regardless by 3 years. So what if I might become stronger than what I would be inside the village? Did you ever give a shit about my happiness? All you seem to care about is how strong is the Jinchuriki. As much as he felt that this was the case, seeing it confirmed by the actions of the veteran ninja in front of him hurt that little bit more. Why should I even bother hoping that people other than Ino care about me? You know what, fuck you all. Fuck each and every person in this stupid fucking village. Alarm bells started ringing in the mind of Jiraiya. You have ever cared, so why should I give a shit, huh? Chakra was starting to leak out of Naruto. Calm down, Naruto. The Akatsuki don't care about anything other than the bijou inside of you. We don't have that luxury. There's a high likelihood that you might die in the next 3 years. Jiraiya passionately replied. The last thing he wanted was for Minato's son dying. You just don't fucking get it, you senile old man. I've been ready and willing to die since I was 6 years old because of the way this fucking village treated me. Jiraiya's heart broke when she heard this, and he was at a complete loss for words. Naruto, you've thought about suicide since 6 years old? Of course I have. Why wouldn't I? I didn't know about killing yourself, but I definitely wanted to never wake up again. I have had no family. I haven't had any friends. I've lived alone since I was 7, why the hell wouldn't I hate my life and want it to end? All my life I have been forced to be a sponge for all of the hatred the village has towards what happened with the fox 13 years ago. I've had to tolerate everything because the second I show any sign of reaction to their actions, my life was made worse. I had to integrate to the belief of the will of fire, which is supposed to take of everyone, but what they don't tell you is the little fucking asterisk on that belief. The asterisk is that you have to not be a Jinchuriki. No one gives a shit about Naruto, they only care about the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. The ease of which Naruto was so willing to speak about this spoke volumes regarding how long he had been feeling this way. Why should I respect this village when it has never shown me any? As far as I am concerned, I am better off without this village. Naruto progressively got more and more angry as he felt even the Kyuubi's chakra coming to the surface. Jiraiya was truly shocked at the words coming from Naruto. That's awfully close to treason, Naruto. You are a shinobi of the Hidden Leaf Village. Remember that. He brought his hand out front, showcased the 5 elements seal. It was at this point that there was a knock on the door, getting both shinobi's attention. Ignore it, Jiraiya stated. Purely out of spite, Naruto went over to the door and opened it. There was his girlfriend Ino. What's going on? I can feel your chakra rising, and rushed over. She questioned to Naruto, and as she entered the room, she could immediately feel the hostility between the two ninja. Jiraiya told me I am going on a training trip with him without asking for my consent. He said it's going to be 3 years. What? Ino, leave the room. This conversation doesn't involve you. Jiraiya firmly stated. She could feel the anger rolling off the man. Unsure of what to do, she looked over at Naruto, who was furious. No, stay here. Any conversation you are going to have with me, she can be here. Naruto, she is not your wife, it's been a 2-month relationship. It's not that serious. Facts, not feelings. Whilst Jiraiya was correct, there wasn't exactly any tact used. It wasn't the smartest thing to say. Not serious, huh? Naruto started laughing. Who are you to say this isn't serious? Ino questioned, taking offense to her relationship. You're teenagers. It's not serious. You're more likely to break up than stay together. Whilst it may have been accurate, telling two that their relationship is doomed to fail is not the best way to appease them. Fuck you. Naruto swore at the veteran ninja, shaking his head. I knew it was too good to be true to allow myself to get my hopes up. I thought that you might care about me as a person and not as a Jinchuriki, given you were so close to my father. As Naruto spoke, he stared deeply into the eyes of Jiraiya. Ino was surprised that he dropped their theory, but she keenly watched the facial expressions of Tsunade. The legendary Toad Sannin had his eyebrows raised before he quickly schooled his features. You know. So that's where this animosity is coming from. How long have you known? Ever the prideful man didn't show his remorse. It was the decades of conditioning as a shinobi that taught him this. Had he shown empathy, he may have gotten more from his godson. The question isn't how long have I known. It's how long have you known, you arsehole? Why the fuck do you want to enter my life now, when you had so long before? The first sign of guilt started showing on the face of Jiraiya. Cracks were appearing in the mask, hiding the man's emotions. You said earlier how you offered to teach me the moves of the 4th Hokage. What, so now we're all out in the open with secrets, you were going to teach me the same things my father would have taught me when he was alive? That's not really you going above and beyond, is it? Naruto questioned, yet again, his anger was coming back to the surface. That's teaching me the bare fucking minimum. I would have taught you more. I would have taught you sealing, and I would have taught you the sage arts of the toad summons. However, you had already signed the snake contract. Jiraiya feebly replied, not really believing what he was saying. The guilt and shame was getting to him. The thing is, I didn't even care about what you can teach me. I can learn everything I need to from the Snake Clan. All I wanted was a family, but you showed me just now that all you care about is the Kyuubi's chakra. Your parents loved you, Naruto. I hope you don't hold any resentment to them. There was nothing more that they were looking forward than to welcoming you into this world. Jiraiya stated, hoping to get this conversation back on track. I don't believe it. What sort of parents would put this curse on their own child to living as a Jinchuriki? Naruto struggled to believe what was being said, given who was saying it. Ino too, purely because she was on Team Naruto. That's because he watched your mother grow up as a Jinchuriki and her life was quite normal. Outside of a bit of bullying because she had red hair, she didn't experience the stereotypical upbringings that Jinchuriki around the world do. The Toad Sannin mentioned. He too had watched Kushina grow, thinking that Naruto would have a similar upbringing. Mentioned. Ignoring the fact that a bomb had just been dropped, Ino spoke. Just to clarify, it's not just other villages. Konoha needs to take ownership that they are just as bad as all the other villages. Point taken. The man conceded. You know what, I just don't even care anymore. I lost hope long before I was a ninja, I was just lying to myself then. Well, now I am not. You can't be serious. Please, Naruto, don't go. I am so sorry for everything I haven't done. Please stay. You don't have to go on this training trip. Jiraiya said as tears started to form in his eyes, although they did not fall. It's too late. Are you sure about this? You're finally doing it? The Yamnika clan heiress questioned, rapidly thinking through multiple scenarios. Jiraiya's eyes widened, realizing that she was aware of this as well. Naruto merely nodded. Ino-chan, are you coming? The Uzumaki genin questioned. As much as he was confident in what he was going to do, a look of desperation filled his eyes. Well, someone is going to have to look out for you. Tears were running down her face as she was forced to make a split decision on whether or not to leave her family or leave her boyfriend who was turning rogue. Naruto went through the hand seals as Jiraiya raced towards him, praying he would reach the blondes. Send out patrols immediately. This is an S-rank secret to not get out to anyone. Tsunade called out to her ANBU in the room. Bring back Naruto and Ino to the village with as little force as possible. The female Hokage was the first to react, whereas Jiraiya was standing there in shock. How could I have let this happen? I am such a failure. I am so sorry, Minato. He was the one that had to explain to Tsunade that Naruto had left the village. Of all the events that had taken place in his life, this was the one that he felt the most shame for. Naruto deserved a much better life, and he knew that everything the boy was saying was right. And then he had to tell Tsunade that he was the one that antagonized Naruto, not taking into consideration the boy's feelings. I'll deal with you later. Tsunade shot a look of disappointment at her best friend, wishing that this was all just a dream. The two children that had been the reason for her coming back to the village were now gone. Where are we? Was the first question Ino asked as she surveyed her surroundings. This is the home of the Snake Clan. In there is the Ryuchi Cave, the most sacred of all places of the Snake Clan. Naruto responded, on the lookout for any threats. Whilst he knew that they would treat him with respect, he didn't know about how they would treat Ino. Who is this lady, Naruto-kun? A sickeningly sweet voice whispered behind the two blondes. As much as there was a shiver that went down the spine of Naruto, he didn't show it. The Yamanaka heiress, however, didn't hide it. This is my girlfriend and best friend, Ino Yamanaka. Ino, this is Shikudo. She is the boss summon's daughter and second in line. Naruto confidently replied to Shikudo. The purple snake, revealing more of herself as the duo of Chunin ninjas turned around. This snake is huge. Ino thought to herself, just feeling the energies in the environment she was in. An overwhelming gut instinct told her to run. She was prey right now, and her life was in the hands of the person she trusted most. Yamanaka, I have heard about them. They are the Mind Reader family, are they not? Shikudo questioned. Feeling that it was directed for her, Ino spoke up. That is correct. We are known for interrogation and healing the mind. I should say thank you, Miss Yamanaka. I have seen the change in young Naruto over the past few months. He is no longer repressing his emotions, that I believe is your doing, no? Both Naruto and Ino blushed at the praise. It was the first time someone had complimented their relationship. That's correct. She's helped me figure out who I am. I am done hiding my feelings like I did in Konoha. Naruto replied, a look of pride on his face. A calculating pair of eyes looked over the two. I see. So you have left the village now? Does that mean that Ino has joined you and is also a missing ninja? The ramifications of their actions hadn't truly sunk in just yet. She didn't even get to say goodbye to her family. A pained look of guilt marred her face. Yes. Naruto grimly nodded. I got into a verbal fight with Jiraiya, and that was the tipping point. They are now aware that I know who my parents are. Over the past month that Naruto had been training since his fight with Sasuke, Naruto had told the Snake Clan his newfound discovery regarding his heritage. And you girl, you were willing to leave your family behind, abandoning your village in a time of need after the invasion, just to spend time with a boy where no one is watching. Grimacing as Shikudo spoke, Ino reflected, when you put it like that, it doesn't look good, does it? I am not doing this for any boy. I care so much for Naruto, and what the village has done to him is wrong on so many levels. He cares for me and makes me feel happier than ever. Plus, if he thinks he is alone in this fight against the Akatsuki, then boy is he wrong. Ino emphatically replied to the assumed interrogation. I see. I can see how much you care for him," Shikuto mentioned before turning her attention to Naruto. "And what about you, Naruto? What are your plans now that you are a missing ninja?" Ino too was eager to hear him. As much as she trusted her partner in arms, she wanted to know what their life plan was. There was no way she was going to live a life like Shikamaru and just do nothing forever. "I want to go around the world and help those less fortunate. I know of the perfect starting place. The land of waves." Naruto instantly had memories of a time where he turned down the bridge builder and their mission. That was a place that was rife of corruption. "Isn't that the place off of the coast of Fire Country?" Ino questioned, gaining a nod from Naruto. "And what are your plans with this girl?" Immediately Ino looked over at her boyfriend. "What the hell does she mean? Your plans with me? What haven't you told me? Trust me on this." Yet another thing that Ino was supposed to just trust Naruto on. "I want her to sign the snake contract." The platinum blonde on instinct turned around to her boyfriend and immediately leveled him with a glare. "Were you going to tell me about this? Summoning animals don't take too kindly to newcomers. They might kill me." "She is correct, Naruto. What makes me think that we would take her on?" With the utmost confidence, more than he has ever had about any other decision, Naruto spoke. "Because she is the perfect member of the clan. She is incredibly smart, sophisticated, has a silver tongue and is capable of being the world's biggest bitch when she wants to be one." Ino blushed at the compliments except for the last one. That one she giggled at. He's not wrong, and flattery will get you everywhere. Just because she has the personality, doesn't mean we would accept her. She needs to have the skills, and you know how high our standards are. Shikuto wasn't showing any sign of her feelings. "While I mentioned that she is really smart. She uses genjutsu in combination with her kenjutsu to trick her enemies mid-fight. She also can interrogate better than anyone, taking out information due to her clan jutsus. Ino can use her chakra to make her speed faster. I think her skills would be a perfect complement to what the Snake Clan has to offer. She would be a great ambassador for the clan," Naruto said with pride about his best friend. He looked over at her and gave her a thumbs up, to which she rolled her eyes but nonetheless appreciated the compliments. "Naruto speaks highly of you, girl. Let's see if you can back it up." With that said, Shikuto launched at incredible speeds, fangs on display with poison dripping off of them. The test to see if Ino would be accepted into the Snake Clan had already begun. "You're telling me my daughter has just become a missing nin and has left the village alongside Uzumaki, Naruto?" Inoichi incredulously questioned to Tsunade, having decided to deliver the shit news in person. Yes, according to credible reports, she was offered the chance to join Naruto, who had decided to leave the village, and she took it. I find that simply impossible to believe. There's no way my little girl would do that. She's not some civilian tramp seeing the Jinchuriki as a ticket to freedom. She had options. Ino had improved so much as a shinobi and was on track to be one of the best ninjas the village had ever produced. Inoichi, in denial, couldn't wrap his head around what his leader was telling me. Not my girl. No matter what anyone said, even the Hokage, Inoichi refused to believe that it was his daughter that had voluntarily made this choice. It had to be the boy. He's just like Orochimaru. Sitting on the tattoo bed, much like Naruto did 4 months ago, Ino Yamanaka found herself getting tattoo. Unlike Naruto, who got a sleeve, starting from his wrist to his pec, Ino got hers from the side of her mid-thigh, coming up her hip and ending at her ribs, curving to her abs. Naruto got one, and I don't want to be a little bitch. Ino gritted her teeth, allowing Shikuto to let the needle dig into the skin, coloring the pigment. She got a floral pattern to pay homage to her family, red roses with thorns to signify her love of love, and a snake interwoven through the flowers to showcase her allegiance to the Snake Clan. That looks so cool. Naruto commented with a grin on his face. It'll be cool when it's over. Go and be useful somewhere, leave me alone. Taking a hint when he got one, Naruto headed back over to where his clones were situated at the waterfall, doing their best to cut the waterfall. Soon, he observed as his clones were chopping the water, unable to prevent it from falling down. However, it was getting closer. As Naruto Ino was occupying her time by reading the book in her hand. It was a scroll all about the concept of Yang Chakra. Reading it, she couldn't help but get excited about all of the potential applications. 5 months into training at the snake compound, and Ino Yamanaka could say that she didn't know she was capable of training this hard. Day in and day out, she spent each and day in the trenches, working out harder than she had ever done before. She was conditioning her body to allow herself to be able to increase her speed, ranging from hand seals, speed in getting her sword out of its sheath, and of course speed. Her speed was growing rapidly, slowly, requiring less and less chakra to achieve the same speeds at the Chunin exams. Soon, she would not need chakra to enhance her speed. Imagine when she used her chakra then. Muscles were starting to form all along her body, and whilst initially, she was concerned with how it would change her looks, but then she realized that she liked them. They showcased the amount of effort that she was putting into training. She was still lean, and she found out that after eating more of a balanced diet, she was feeling better, and as far as she was concerned, that was the most important thing. She was happier, had more energy and more desire to be active. Plus, she had a boyfriend, and he seemed to like her body just as much as he ever did. The increase of energy allowed her to build her chakra reserves. Who knew that to use and build energy supplies, you need to consume energy? Her reserves, which were quite low for a genin back during the Chunin exams, they were now middle of the range Chunin levels. That wasn't her claim to fame though. For Ino Yamanaka, it was her chakra control that was her greatest asset. She didn't need the greatest of chakra reserves if she was so efficient that she didn't use much chakra. Her control was so finite that she was able to climb a waterfall with solely her feet. It was a struggle, and she had to prepare for it beforehand, taking each step at a time, but the goal would to be able to run up the side and even channel jutsu whilst also channeling chakra to her feet. The addition of chakra reserves allowed Ino to venture into elemental manipulation. In such a short space of time, she was proud of how far she had come. In the space of 2 months, she had managed to control the flame on a green leaf. She was still working on controlling it when it came to a dry, brittle leaf. When it came to fire ninjutsu, there were the token jutsus that came from the Uchiha clan that she didn't want to use. She wanted to be independent and have her own style. With a focus on genjutsu, it forced creativity. Ino translated that into elemental ninjutsu. Much like his partner in crime, Naruto was also delving into elemental ninjutsu. He was progressing faster than Ino due to the sheer amount of time and energy he was putting into his ninjutsu. He had managed to cut the waterfall and was quickly applying the learnings, the arts of vacuum manipulation, and applying it to the jutsus he already knew. The lethality of all his jutsus increased tremendously. It wasn't all about wind release for Naruto though, as he, just like Ino, was rapidly improving his physical conditioning, doing grueling workouts that he never knew existed. Back when he was training himself, he had the intensity sure, but now, thanks to the Snake Clan, he could back it up with exercises that helped him improve more efficiently. His skinny body was going away quite quickly. With the combination of proper nutrition and eating large quantities of food, Naruto now had definition in his arms, and his shoulders were becoming wider and wider. You could now see all the musculature in his back. His clothes were fitting tighter, and soon he would need to size up. This was hitting right at the same time that Naruto was going through a growth spurt, and he was now finally at the same height as Ino, much to his enjoyment. He smirked on occasions he caught his girlfriend staring at him with what he now recognized as lust. If there was ever motivation to continue becoming bigger and stronger, then that was it. The changes that he was seeing inside his body coincided with all the new information Naruto was learning about the human body, thanks to his training in the medical arts. Through the sheer brute forcing of 100+ clones a day reading various medical textbooks, Naruto rapidly accumulated knowledge on how the human body worked, including how it reacted to poisons. Hearing about poisons made Naruto grin, as up until now, he had no way of subduing a fighter. Call it a hang-up from his fight with Sasuke, where he had to hold back with some of his wind-based attacks in fear of killing Sasuke. The Uzumaki blonde had an unwavering interest in learning about poisons, culminating with him even testing out some of them on himself, seeing how they worked and how the Kyuubi healed them. He was confident that he could tolerate a lot more than what anyone else could. Flashback. Going through the texts of all the various jutsus that the Snake Clan had come across in their time, one of Naruto's clones came across a scroll regarding the Rasengan. As much as the clone wanted to chuck the scroll away and then forget about it, there was a burning curiosity inside him to learn more. A child always wanted to impress their parents, no matter how much they wanted to deviate from that. You couldn't rewrite biology. Minato Namikaze made this A-ranked ninjutsu from reports of seeing a tailed beast ball at the start of the Third Great War. It took him 3 years to create the jutsu and is viewed to be the highest form of shape manipulation. There is no element tied to it. The jutsu is a sphere of chakra. As the clone read this excerpt, he instantly remembered both the tailed beast ball that Shikaku used as well as the time Jiraiya used the Rasengan at that stall during the search for Tsunade. He distinctly remembered the jutsus and remembered how powerful they were. Maybe if I learn this, then I can use it later on with the Kyuubi, Naruto clone thought to himself. Still conflicted on whether or not he wanted to learn the jutsu, the prevailing thought was that this would be a big fuck you to Jiraiya who offered to teach him it, yet he turned it down and still learnt it anyway. A smirk came across the face of the clone. He just needed to figure it out. Surely it wouldn't take the 3 years. Right? End flashback. It was much harder than Naruto first thought to re-engineer the jutsu from scratch, having only seen it once. 5 months into being solely based at the training compound, and Naruto had managed to make it only so far. He quickly realized he needed a medium to help create the spherical shape, getting a rubber ball and letting his chakra bounce around inside it, still keeping the relative shape. He'd popped a couple of balloons accidentally, so power wasn't the issue and that would come naturally. The good that came with this though was that Naruto found himself creating new jutsus, with the failed attempts at creating the Rasengan. And Naruto was confident that he would figure out more as time went on. Frustrated was a very polite way of describing what Danzo was feeling right now. It was 6 months after Sasuke Uchiha had left the village and been brought back. 5 months after the demon container and stupid Toad left the village on an apparent training trip. I could have trained him better. Yet when he had credible reports that the Jinchuriki was nowhere near to be seen, with it coinciding with the disappearance of the Yamanaka clan heir, Danzo was outraged. They lied to me. The weapon should have been mine all along. Toryun. Assemble your best squad. Bring the Jinchuriki back to the village, dead or alive. Don't come back to the village unless you have him. In a rare sign of emotion, the Warhawk of Konoha brought his fist down to the table and slammed it on the wood. The brace on his arm rattled. Danzo would protect the tree of Konoha at whatever the costs. The ends justified the means, and he brought his hand up to his bandaged eye. With a Jinchuriki on the loose, Konoha needed every way to control the bijou for when it attacked. Coming out of the fabled lands of the Ryuchi cave, the blonde couple surveyed their location. They were on the outskirts Tanzakugai. Let's get started. Naruto called out to his girlfriend with a smile on his face. The Uzumaki was incredibly excited to finally test out all the effort that he had been putting in and measure himself. The Akatsuki weren't going to rest, and that meant that he couldn't either. Right, let's go. A look of concentration appeared on the face of Ino, although you could clearly hear the bubbly undertones of her voice. She too was keen to measure herself as well. There weren't as many female high-ranked ninjas, and she was ready to make a name for herself, letting the world know that women were equally as capable as men. The world would know Ino Yamanaka. As Ino was having an inner monologue regarding how she was going to take the world by storm, Naruto glanced over at her and couldn't help but let his eyes wander. Those purple spandex booty shorts she was wearing left nothing to the imagination, stopping just short of her upper thigh. Her outfit was complemented by an off-the-shoulder black crop top loosely tied just below her bust, allowing her to not only show off her pierced belly button but also draw attention to her growing chest. He knew it was supposed to be seductive, and it was working. Naruto couldn't keep his eyes off of her. His growing body was experiencing changes, and he was now starting to get urges that he had never had before. Ino couldn't help but both blush and smirk, and the constant leering her partner would do. He's not subtle at all. She giggled, reveling in the attention. As soon as Naruto found out it was okay to stare at his girlfriend, he did not stop. She loved the way Naruto obsessed visually over her body. "Eyes on the mission, babe," she said with mirth, making Naruto shake his head and get on track. Right, Dada Bayo. As they made their way through the countryside, Naruto couldn't help but think to himself. Even the air smells different. What Naruto was smelling wasn't that the air here was different from Konoha, it was the smell of freedom. Freedom to do whatever he wanted. For the first time in a long time, a true ear-splitting grin came on his face. He couldn't wait to live this next phase of his life. Striking up conversation, Ino couldn't help but wonder why Naruto wanted to come here first. She soon found out that Naruto had a guilty conscience, saying that he could have helped these people long ago yet chose not to out of principle due to the old man lying. Running across the ocean was a good way for the duo to warm up for the morning. The mist cover was coming across strong. "I wonder how bad it's gotten if what you said about the Scotto guy taking over is true." "Yeah, me too," Naruto questioned internally, confident he wasn't going to like the answer. As they entered the outskirts of the village, Ino was shocked at what she saw. Buildings were run down, doors were off hinges, windows were broken, and the worst part of all was the faces of the people. They looked like they had aged a tremendous amount in such a short space of time. You could literally see the depression of a country through the eyes of the people. They had no hope whatsoever of this place returning back to what it once was. "This is horrible." Ino voiced her thoughts out loud, feeling the sadness coming off of the people in waves. "It is," the Uzumaki grimly replied. "This looks like what I felt like for all those years." Arriving in the center of town, Naruto saw the poverty firsthand and was reminded exactly what he had to go through when he was younger, always having to try and scrounge around money for the ramen cups. "This needs to change." "Oh my god." Ino called out, horrified at the sight in front of her. There, in the center of town, was a locked-up Tazuna lying inside a steel cage, just like a zoo animal. The most confronting thing though was that he was stark naked. All that was inside the cage was a bowl of water and a bowl of grains. Naruto was the first to look away, noticing that there was a man standing beside, his sword prominently on display, almost daring anyone to come forth and try and free Tazuna. Bringing his hand up in a single one-handed seal wind release, poison bullet, futon, doku dangon, Naruto whispered, firing off a bullet of poison, wrapped in a sphere of wind chakra at the glorified bandit standing beside the cage. The sphere raced forward, smashing into the chest of the bandit, cutting his clothes and subsequently flesh with multiple cuts before the purple clouded liquid spread all over the wound. The paralysis poison immediately went to work, slipping into the bloodstream and shutting down the man's motor function. It was the first time for Naruto using this technique and he was happy to see it worked like a charm. Looking over at Ino, who merely nodded, she took the man who had fallen down on the ground into a nearby alleyway, ready to interrogate him. As this was happening, Naruto went back over to the cage, where Tazuna had gotten up. For the first time in over a year, he had hope. "You, shinobi. Let me out, please. I have a family. A daughter and a grandson." Naruto ignored the man but went over to the cage and with a quick application of wind chakra from his finger, he sliced open the lock and opened the door. Now that the elderly man could get a better look at his rescuer, he noticed that it was the same kid from before that refused to help him. He looked different now, with his long blonde hair which was down to his shoulder blades. He also noticed Naruto, wearing an olive green kimono top open with a tight, white cotton t-shirt underneath. It was a cry from the oversized jumper and pants he wore before. Now you could clearly see that the blonde worked out. "You. Do you know how much our people have had to struggle since you betrayed us? The people of Wave have lived in slums. It's been super bad." Not at all in the mood to entertain the man, particularly because he was naked, Naruto replied. "I am coming to help now. If you want, I can lock you back up in the cage," he asked, to which the man shut up. Unsealing a scroll from his pocket, Naruto had some spare clothes, giving them to Tazuna, who quickly put them on. He then provided Tazuna with ration bars which the man readily started eating, but what really made the man happy was that Naruto supplied him with a small flask of sake. Ah! That's the stuff! Tazuna cried out in happiness. It was his first drink in over a year from his unwanted sobriety. Did Naruto know the man was an alcoholic? No. Did he think it would help make the man more susceptible for his next plan? Yes. You sick fuck! Ino called out, returning back to consciousness. She had just finished going through the mind of Kusabi, who was one of the mid-ranked goons of Gato. Pulling out a vial that her boyfriend had made for her, Ino slipped the venom into the man's mouth she forced open. This poison had a darker tinge to it than the previous one which Naruto fired off. Rather than paralyze enemies, this one killed. Coming back over to Tazuna, Ino noticed as they were speaking, Naruto gave her a look. What are you thinking, Naruto? Can you please change this man's memories so that he never remembers meeting Team 7? Instead he got caught by Gato's men on the way to Konoha. It will make him much more malleable in the future. For a moment, there was an internal conflict on if this was the right thing to do, but then that was squashed. She was a ninja and the ends justified the means, right? With a quick hand sign and locking eye contact with Tazuna for the briefest moment, he was under a genjutsu when she closed her eyes, placing her hands on his forehead. 2 hours later and Ino opened her eyes, and soon after Tazuna opened her eyes, Naruto handed the man the same flask, who greatly appreciated. Damn this headache. It's super great that you ninjas came. I don't know what we would have done. Right, let's get you back to your home, so you can meet your family. We're going to have to keep investigating Gato and his operations work. Naruto replied, creating a clone to shadow Tazuna back to his home. As the clone escorted the bridge builder back to his home, excited to see his family for the first time in over a year, Naruto turned back over to Ino. So what did you find out? They are disgusting pigs. They have been stealing, racketeering, drug trafficking, raping and trading humans as slaves. Ino horrified at the information that she had found out. More and more, Naruto was questioning whether or not he made the right call in telling Kakashi they should leave Wave. Knowing that you were causing one thing but seeing it was different altogether. Let's get going. Did you manage to get the location of Gato? Naruto questioned, receiving a shake of the head. Well, let's start rolling heads and see who comes out. Little did the duo know that Gato had eyes and ears everywhere in Wave. A message was already being sent out that Tazuna had been freed. With his cane in his hand, Danzo discreetly made his way through the ANBU holding cells, walking to the final room in the maximum security facility. Soon enough, in front of him there was the cell to Sasuke Uchiha. The boy was due to be slowly reintegrated back into the shinobi forces, having served his punishment for attempting to leave the village. Normally, they would have extended his punishment, but due to the Kyuubi Jinchuriki leaving the village, Konoha was not as strong as what it once was. Not in the mood to play around, Danzo nodded and one of his men came down from the shadows and unlocked the door. Who are you? Sasuke shouted out, frustrated at being contained. It doesn't matter who I am. Danzo calmly replied, letting his chakra fluctuate and opened the bandages over his right eye. Koto Amatsukami. Heading to what appeared to be an abandoned fishing warehouse used previously to collect cargo from boats, Naruto and Ino found crates upon crates of various different sea goods ready to be shipped out. What's that smell? Ino muttered, smelling a distinctly familiar smelling plant. Naruto was unaware. We need to find out more info. He replied, jumping up onto a wall and climbing up to the ceiling. With one hand using chakra to hold the sheet metal, Naruto used his other to create a finely sharpened blade of wind, cutting a wide enough hole in the wall for both blondes to see what operations were taking place. In there were a group of 10 to 20 men, each unloading and loading the crates onto the boat. There! Ino whispered fervently. There's the children they are going to trade, she fumed, anger coming to the surface. I'm going to cast a wide genjutsu over this area, you go in and neutralize the threats to those in the containers. Miss Yamanaka instructed, to which Naruto nodded. Cutting a wider hole, he slipped inside the facility, sticking to the roof with his chakra. Watching the haze filter over the mercenaries below, Naruto slipped down to the water's surface, jumping on board the boat and scaled into the cargo area. Futon, Teisashin Kajoku no Jutsu, Wind Release, Multiple Vacuum Spheres Jutsu, Naruto whispered, testing another jutsu for the first time in combat, and fired off multiple bullets of pressurized air, straight into the brains of the two men loading the cargo. I'm here to save you, Naruto called out, quickly attempting to control the room and reduce the hysteria. Naruto quickly went over the locks and cut them open. Stay in here for a little bit. You're not going to like what you see if you stick your head out. The civilians inside the boat nodded, not willing to question this stranger that was helping them. Naruto exited out of the boat and looked over to Ino, and she opened the connection between their minds. We're good to go, Naruto calmly stated, and Ino dropped the genjutsu, causing a commotion. What the hell was that? Waraji frustratingly called out to the team. No one could answer them. Not because they knew what was going on, but because they were dead. A wind chakra-enhanced sword had gone through the necks of all men working at the dock. Show yourself! Zora screamed out, having noticed all the bodies dropping down to the ground. Okay, Naruto calmly stated, appearing behind Zori and punching him hard in the back of the head. He dropped instantaneously. Who the hell are you? What do you want? Waraji questioned, scared shitless in what he had just seen. This is the power of ninjas. It doesn't matter who we are. Those were the final words Waraji heard, and they came from a female voice, right next to his ear, before a hand was placed on the back of his head and he slumped to the ground. The 20 men were all dead, a sea of blood permeating the dock and shipyard. As Ino was infiltrating the minds of the two leading henchmen of Gato's operation, Naruto quickly cleaned up the bodies, sending them into the ocean nearby and using his wind chakra to remove the blood and the smell of blood. Jumping back into the boat, Naruto released the slaves, freeing them to go and live their lives. As they quickly exited the boat, Naruto couldn't help but wonder what else was in the ship. Delving deeper into the ship, the Uzumaki found 5 crates, almost 2 meters tall and 3 meters wide. In it, he could smell a flowery yet heavy gasoline smell coming from the crates. Within seconds, his curiosity got the better of him. He had opened the crate and found bricks of a pure white powder. Curious, Naruto brought his finger over one of the bricks, getting some of the powder, and brought it up to his nose to smell more. Instantly, he got a rush like none before. His nose was numb and his eyes immediately widened, with his iris dilating. What the hell is this? Now even more curious, Naruto brought his finger to his lips and licked it. Instantly, his tongue and lips went numb. Seriously, what the fuck is this powder? Concerned at the feeling of his mouth going numb, it was mitigated by the overload of endorphins he was feeling in that time. Rushing back down to where Ino was, he noticed that Ino was coming out of her information gathering session. Racing down, he wrapped her in a hug, spinning her around in circles. Naruto! Ino shrieked, surprised at what was going on. He paused for a moment, latching his lips onto hers, immediately instigating an open-mouth kiss. Blushing as she didn't expect this spontaneity, Ino melted into his arms, wrapping her arms around her man. That was until she too got the same feeling of Naruto with the numb mouth, albeit less intense. What the hell? What did you do? Why is my mouth going numb? Ino demanded, pulling herself away from the kiss. I dunno, I was going through the ship and found this powder, tried sniffing and tasting it, and now I feel amazing. Naruto mentioned, buzzing around like he used to when he was younger. Naruto became disappointed when, instead of a positive reaction, his girlfriend looked at him horrified. I think that's the drugs. That's illegal. The boy shrugged his shoulders. We're missing Neens. Nothing is legal. Come on, don't you want to feel good too? Naruto. I like you a lot, but don't you ever take that stuff again. Daddy always told me how it screws with your brain and makes you an addict, unable to function without it and always chasing the high. You don't know how much that is going to ruin your life. In that moment, Naruto knew that he felt amazing. He didn't think it was as bad as what Ino was saying. Come on, I know about medicine and the hormonal system. I can feel my serotonin spiking. I'll monitor my levels to see what happens. As Naruto was saying this, he was running a diagnostic jutsu over his body. Ino wasn't having any of it. Promise me you won't have any more of that crap, Naruto. For the first time, Ino was showing real fear. Not for her life, but worse, she was fearing what might happen to Naruto. She had seen the drive and determination he had when he was training. She could see he had an addictive personality, and if his dopamine hit switched from training and improving to drugs, then she would fear that she would lose her boyfriend forever. Okay, I promise. Naruto replied, still feeling the effects of the drug. He didn't see what the big deal was. He also didn't know the brain the same way the Yamanakas did, how it rewrote the neural pathways in the brain. What did you find out about Gato? He questioned, changing the subject. He got a hard stare in return before Ino spoke. Well, Gato is stationed in another base a few kms from here. He has a safe in this office. Let's go check it out. Rolling up a 100 Rio note, Gato brought it down to the table where he had a line of white powder on the table. Next to him on the table, he had a large bowl filled with the powder. He muttered in satisfaction, bringing his head up after inhaling the line up his nose through the rolled-up money. This was the sight that Naruto and Ino walked in on, giving Naruto a front-row seat on how to ingest the substance. Barging in the door, Ino was furious, seeing yet another sign of the narcotics in use. Why hello there, Gato. She mentioned in a sickly sweet voice. Who the fuck are you two? Are you the hooker they sent up for me? You don't look too bad, girl, bit too old for my tastes, but you make up for it with the blonde hair. Gato said, ever so confident in his opinion. Funny you say that, this is the last body you're going to be seeing. Ino called out as she came forward to Gato. For the briefest moments, she placed a hand on Naruto, calming him down. Fear and paranoia was starting to sink in for the short man. Now that he actually paid attention to the two people in front of him, he realized that they were not here to play. What do you want? I can offer anything you want. Money, lots of money. I can offer you drugs, you can have your own group of slaves. What makes you think we would want any of that? Naruto questioned to the man who was slowly backing up. Everyone has a price and I can pay whatever it is you want. He backpedaled in his seat as Ino came forward. Despite her being severely younger than him, she was the one that inspired fear. Why would we accept you giving us anything? When we can simply take everything you have? Ino said, throwing a sunbon into the neck of Gato. You're going to hand over everything and you want to know the best part? She questioned as she watched the slowly dawning horror over the face of the billionaire. You're going to do it willingly. The ever-present fake smile stayed on Ino's face, etching it forever into the memory of Gato. Remember the name. Ino Yamanaka. Ino finished saying, watching the man in front of her go paralytic due to the poison administered via the sunbon. As much as she didn't want her skin to touch his, Ino wished he could export all of the key information from Gato's mind with a glove on her hand. With Ino going to be incapacitated for the next couple of hours, the other missing Nin created 15 clones to go through the mansion to find out what else he could use for his own agendas. Running through the compound, the clones scoured the mansion, searching every single room, eventually landing on the basement floor where they found the safe. Futon, Kaze no Yaiba, wind release, wind sword, the clone whispered as his hand turned into finely sharpened blade of wind covered in a green tinge. Damn, this metal is tough. The clone muttered as it took its time cutting the metal hinge on the doors to see what was inside. This better be good. With the hinges broken on the door to Gato's prized possessions, the clones of Naruto pulled the door off, allowing them to go into a separate room, noticing all kinds of illicit items. The first thing that the clones noticed was the money. Holy shit! It was the largest amount of money that Naruto had ever seen. Nothing could compare. When his little Gamo wallet was at his fullest, it filled a palm-sized hand. In front of the clones was a literal room full of 100 Rio notes. Had the clones counted it, they would have found there to be 10 million Rio. Ever since they had left the village, they knew they were going to have to find a source of money. This right here was the jackpot. Yet Naruto, with his unwavering desire for excellence, wanted more. Pulling out a scroll, they immediately went to sealing all the money into it, freeing up the room to see what else was in there. Once the money was sealed away, one of the clones found a tiny door in the corner. Going over to it, they noticed it was another safe. This has got to be the good shit. He muttered, cutting it open, and sifted through the case full of documents. Yukimura Sanada, daimyo of the Land of Water. Known conspirator with Yandere Mizukage, fearing ninjas and bloodlines having too much power. Yagura Karatachi, Yandere Mizukage. Known to have full control over demons sealed inside of him. Tenzin Daikoku, right-hand man, negotiator to daimyo and helping me fund the Mizukage in the war, and he would turn a blind eye to our business. Zabuza Momochi, missing ninja, willing to accept any work. Trying to get funds to overthrow Mizukage. Need to kill off Demon Brothers. Low-level ninjas hanging around Zabuza Momochi. As the clones summarized the information in the binders, they found the real deal, what they were really here after. There in front of them were the official deeds to Gato Industries. Quickly pocketing them into a scroll, the group of clones then sealed everything in the main room, from priceless artwork to every single weapon you could think of. Even 10 bricks of that powdery substance. Making sure to pocket everything in scrolls, the clones dispelled, leaving one to take everything back to the original. Hearing a noise that wasn't a clone of his, Naruto was immediately on alert. Allowing for the sleeve of his kimono top to hang loose, Naruto put his hand in a seal and let 4 snakes come out of it. It was the noise of the footsteps on the wall that alerted Naruto to the incoming threat. Creating a clone, Naruto left it with Ino, jumping out the window, surprising the 2 former mist shinobi. Ah, the Demon Brothers. Who the hell is this brat? Is this another one of Gato's goons? Gozu questioned, having no idea who the midget in front of them was. No, I am the one that Gato asked for protection from. Naruto merely replied, garnering the attention of the enemies. Before they could bring out their chain, snakes launched themselves out of the vines and lattice on the mansion. Latching onto the necks of the 2 ninjas, they injected poison immediately into the veins that went to the brain. Losing control over their chakra, the duo fell headfirst from the 2nd story onto concrete. They were dead before their feet hit the ground. And those were supposed to be Chunin? Naruto muttered to himself, disappointed. I have to be at least 1 level above that. If they are here, then that must mean that Zabuza Momochi must be coming. Fearing for Ino, who was currently incapacitated, rewriting the mind of Gato to be their little pawn, Naruto rushed inside to find Ino wrapping up. Sweat poured down her brow and a few strands of her hair fell down out of her ponytail. Right then, mist started entering the room from the exposed window where Naruto had killed the Demon Brothers. Shit, that must be Zabuza. Come on, Ino. Naruto rushed her, knowing that there was a high-ranked ninja coming for them. Whoever it is, you better come out now. If you do, I'll kill you quickly. If not. Zabuza's voice rang out over land. Ugh. Who is that? Can't they come back in an hour? Ino questioned, bringing her right hand over to her stomach, unsealing her sword. Naruto shook his head. Guess not. I'll cover. To our right, 25 meters. Ino called out, sending out a pulse of chakra to sense what was around her. 2 signatures. 2. Naruto hissed, although not intimidated. Nothing intimidated him since going toe-to-toe with Shikaku. Fuck it. Naruto muttered before jumping out the window, placing his free hand into a hand seal and blowing the mist away completely. You're just a snot-nosed brat. Zabuza said with surprise, having no idea who Naruto was. Now, I haven't seen your face in the bingo book, so you're obviously not that special. Zabuza baited. Or, they don't want to put me in the bingo book because they don't want the shame of other villages knowing I left. Naruto replied, standing tall. Heh, they want me back, of course they do. I'll make them regret treating me the way they did. Bullshit. You're just a Yandame Hokage wannabe. Let me show you how a real shinobi uses a sword, and with that, he was off. Shit, he's fast. Naruto thought to himself, surprised at the speed. Outside of sparring with Ino, this was his first real fight. His first fight with someone that was more skilled than him, an actual ninja rather than Gaara and Sasuke, which were just chakra dick measuring contests. Which I won. Releasing wind chakra into his blade, Naruto blocked the downward swipe of his executioner blade. Clang! The blades collided and a tiny little cut appeared on the executioner's blade thanks to the heavy amount of wind chakra running through Naruto's Chikuto. Note to self, that was not fun. Naruto thought to himself, jumping back, the jarring sensation was running through his arm. The strength. Heh, props kid. Not many can handle the full force of a swing like that, but I guess that's why you have that pesky wind chakra running through your blade. Well, let's see how you can handle this. Zabuza called out, frustrated that he couldn't kill this kid with one swipe. Swipe after swipe, Naruto barely managed to block each attack in the pure Kenjutsu battle between one of the former 7 swordsmen of the mist. The fact that he could even hold his head above water was a testament to how far he had come. Futon, Shirnowa Jutsu, Wind Release, Ring of Death Jutsu, Naruto called out, going through 2 hand seals as he jumped down the mansion. With his body on a 45-degree angle, Naruto fell to the ground with Zabuza chased after him. A ring of slicing winds came from his waist, jetting out in a 360-degree circle. I do not want to find out how strong those are. The former mist ninja thought to himself, replacing himself with a nearby water clone. Zabuza could only watch on in fascination with the corner of the house being sliced cleanly off. What the fuck are they making these kids with? First Haku and now this little shit. The little brat can just blow away any mist I produce. Pulling water from the nearby lake, Zabuza shot a pressurized bullet of water. Gado's dead. You're not going to get what you want. Naruto called out. You little shit. Zabuza replied, annoyed that his meal ticket for the war is now gone. Guess I'll have to just kill you and take all of your money. Zabuza yelled, closing the gap between himself and Naruto. Much to his surprise, he quickly had to dodge an incoming sword, Naruto having thrown it straight at his head. Don't you know anything? Zabuza raged, this midget fuck had just gone against the first edict of the 7 ninja swordsmen. You don't ever let go of your sword. That just says how stuck in the past you are, old man. The blonde replied with a smirk. As he did this, Naruto held out his palm and a glowing seal appeared on his palm. What Zabuza didn't see was that the same seal appeared on base of Naruto's sword. Acting like a beacon, Naruto's sword turned around and started hurtling back to him, with Zabuza in the middle. It was only at the last second that Zabuza heard the noise coming behind him. Turning around, he watched in horror as the sword was inches away from his face. That was, until he smirked. A thin sheen of ice appeared instantaneously between Zabuza and the incoming sword, causing the blade to get stuck and then encased in ice. Heh, what are you going to do now, kid, now that you don't have your sword? I must admit that was a neat trick. What's your name, brat? You should definitely be in the bingo book. Shit, that must have been the other ninja. To be able to create ice must be a bloodline like the Senjus. Having heard all of the stories regarding Hashirama, Naruto was starting to panic. You think I use the sword because I need to? I only use that to save the environment from me. I'm not a Kenjutsu specialist like you, old man. I'm a ninjutsu specialist. For the record, I'm not old. I'm only 26. Zabuza roared, rushing forward, annoyed at the brat in front of him dying as easily as he expected. For a no-name brat, he's pretty good. I might not be in the bingo books yet, but give it a year and you'll see me at minimum A rank. The name's Naruto Uzumaki. Uzumaki. I see. You don't look like what the books say. No wonder there is seals all over your blade. Zabuza called out, although this time Zabuza barely dodged a stray ice kunai aimed right at the back of his head. I guess you should also know the name Ino Yamanaka than to Zabuza Momochi. Haku came out of the shadows, yet the voice didn't match the body one bit. What have you done with Haku? Zabuza shouted out. All pretense is lost. As much as the former Mist Ninja could be jovial, instantaneously he turned. It's more what I am going to do after this fight if you don't surrender. I'm going to turn her brain into mush, leaving her a vegetable. You think I'd care? I'd just leave her. All she is to me is a tool. A weapon to help me in my goal of overthrowing the Mizukage. How sad your life must be. Where you only view people as tools. Ino replied, still in the body of Haku. Let me guess, you have conditioned her to think of herself as tool. You disgusting misogynistic prick. Instead of wiping her mind, what I should do is erase all memories of you, as if you never existed, then rewrite her brain into thinking she found us as kids and we spent our lives on the run. You cunt! I'm going to gut you like the trash you are. How dare you fucking threaten the demon of the mist? Heh, you think you're a demon. You're not even close to the ones in my dreams. Naruto called out, channeling wind chakra into his blade that he had resummoned back to his hand and jumped in front of Zabuza and Haku, surprising the former Mist Ninja. He blocked the attack before holding his hand in a seal. Hibi Hijitsu, Mahi no Kyu, Snake Clan Jutsu, Sphere of Paralysis, Naruto called out as a violet mist seeped out of his body in every direction, coming into contact with both Zabuza and Haku. Futon, Atsugai. Wind release, pressure damage. As Naruto was on the other side of Haku and had no qualms about putting some space between himself and Zabuza. The cutting winds immediately came, tearing up everything from the garden to the trees. Even the rocks in the area were littered with cuts. A water clone was left in front of Naruto, showing that Zabuza had already left the area. You good to go back? Naruto questioned, turning back to his girlfriend. She nodded in the form of Haku's body. Hibi Hijitsu, Hibi no Kaimusho, Snake Clan Jutsu, Prison of a Snake's Mouth, the Uzumaki called out, summoning a snake, that then proceeded to unhinge its jaw and start swallowing Haku's body whole. Only able to look on in horror as his companion for the past decade was getting swallowed up whole by a snake of all things, Zabuza was enraged enough to shorten the hand seals of his jutsu. Suiton, Suorian no Jutsu, Water Release, Water Dragon Jutsu, a furious Zabuza called out. These two fucking kids. Anger consumed him, allowing him to disassociate from the fact that Haku was now in the belly of a giant snake. The water dragon collided with the building, taking Naruto with it, smashing his head against the concrete wall. The torrential force of the dragon drilled into Naruto. Ah, he cried out. To the point of drowning, the water went down his throat without his consent, filling his lungs. If that wasn't enough, the structure of the two-story mansion started getting cracks, before falling on top of Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto! Ino screamed out in horror, witnessing the building that she had just jumped out of collapse on top of her best friend. I'm going to gut you, making you feel fear worse than the time you ran with your sword between your legs going up against Yugura. Ino came out of the building, furious and scared at the same time. One sword in her hand and the other ready to rip Zabuza's balls off his body and feed them through his mouth. You're a million years too young to think you can hang with me, girl. Zabuza looked down on the blonde in front of him, thinking she was just the support act whereas Naruto was the muscle. How does this Yamanaka know about Yugura? Then she moved. 6 months was a long time to read up on the musculoskeletal structure in the human body and how best to use chakra to make the most of it. Especially with all of the physical conditioning she had done, Ino was much faster. As fast as an elite jonin such as Zabuza Momochi. Holy shit! Zabuza called out as he rapidly had to dodge the incoming attack from the Yamanaka girl. Barely avoiding the first attack, Ino slowly down her speed a tiny bit, allowing Zabuza to regain comfortability in the sword fight. You're quick, but that's nothing when the other person is also quick. Zabuza slammed his blade down. With one hand behind her back, Ino let her impeccable chakra control come to the surface once more. Why's her hand behind her back? For the briefest seconds, Zabuza looked to the hand behind her back, getting curious before bringing himself back to the present. That, though, was enough time to allow Ino to swipe her blade across the chest of Zabuza. Shaking his head, Zabuza brought his blade forward to block the incoming follow-up attack. Ah! Zabuza flinched when he felt a deep cut along the arm that held the executioner's blade. Looking back down, he saw that he had misjudged the flight of the girl's blade. He had brought his blade up too quickly. I never do that. Zabuza thought to himself before he remembered one crucial piece of information. Yamanaka. She's been feeding me messages whilst fighting. That's dangerous. Get out of my mind. Zabuza flared his chakra, breaking himself out of the minor genjutsu placed on him, so subtle that he didn't notice it initially. Following that up, he used a burst of speed and kicked Ino in the stomach hard, flinging her towards where Naruto was. Right as he was about to follow it up and go for the kill, there was an all-too-familiar feeling permeating the air. For the first time since his fight with the Mizukage, the former elite Jonin felt fear. Pulling the rubble off of him, Naruto stood up holding both of his hands on his temples, channeling medical chakra to his temples, staving off his concussion. So Zabuza, you fought 3 tails before. How would you like to try your luck against 9? Naruto called out, angered that he had to use enough chakra to form a cloak. Looking over at his girlfriend in the rubble beside him, Naruto had one thought. This just got personal. Zabuza could only gulp. How the hell did I rock up and find the Kyuubi Jinchuriki?
That's it for today. Remember to show your support to the creator of this story if you enjoyed it. If you would like more parts of the story to be uploaded, leave a comment and subscribe to get notified when the story continues. Bye-bye for now, and I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day.